here, and welcome to Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursdays. Again, I'm Nicole Roberts-Jones. I'm your Bankroll Your Brilliance expert and the host. Excited to have you here another Thursday. Now, listen, every time you're with us, we talk about one of three things when we look at Bankrolling Your Brilliance. Number one, what is your brilliance? What's your purpose? What's the one thing God created you to do in this thing called life? And do you know it? Do you own it? Are you standing in it unapologetically? Number two is the value tied to it. And that could be anywhere from all my mommies out there feeling guilty. It could be anywhere from you overlooking your gift. And there's a whole conversation, a whole number of things we could talk about when we look at the value tied to it. And then number three is how do you make multiple streams of revenue from it? So today I'm excited to bring to you a powerhouse. We're going to talk about number two and kind of number three. So with that said, come on in. You guys know how I am. If you've been here before, you know I'm the kind of person that, listen, my grandmother would say, don't come in this house and not speak. So come on in and say hello. I'm trying to get my comments up quickly here on my iPad because sometimes I cannot see all the comments that come in. So tell us name and where you're from. Now, as I bring up our phenomenal guest this week, if you have a question, post it. If she's stepping on your toes, give her some fire emojis, right? Good morning, Mia. Tell us where you are in the world. Hey, Michelle. And listen, if she is resonating with you, give us some hearts because we can't hear you. And I'm a church girl. So if you ever go to church with me, I am so loud, right? Yeah. And that's because anytime someone's speaking, they're speaking for you. And so we want them to know that what they're saying is resonating with you. So with that, let me read her bio because this is one of my girlfriends, right? One of my rider lives, and I would, I'd miss some things, right? So with that, Jon'll Boyd is a mom and an entrepreneur, but has been most affectionately coined the mompreneur because she started and has owned a business for as long as her two boys have been alive, right? She is a builder at heart and built her first business, Completely Yours, Event and Design, almost 10 years ago after being downsized from corporate America. How many of y'all have been downsized or you want to leave corporate, right? Or anywhere in between? Yeah, she's going to be all up your street. She has always been a fierce advocate for helping women build their businesses and build a community, which is why she also started the Planner Suite, where she supports event planners with building their businesses. Now, if that wasn't enough, she didn't stop there. She then saw the need for women who were struggling with business and mommyhood. How many of y'all are struggling with business and mommyhood? Say me. Say me. I'm going to keep reading as you guys are saying me. And that is where the Eventful Life Enterprises was born. She's on a mission to help women reimagine how they can build their life and or business one experience at a time. So we're talking today, living an eventful life. So ladies, please help me welcome Jon'll Boyd. Hey, girl.
Hello. Hey. How are you doing?
I'm so excited. Listen, since we all been in the COVID streets, I haven't been able to see most people, but I've seen Jon'll, right? So, but I'm always still excited to see you.
I know that's right. I know it makes it feel like you haven't seen people in like ages, I swear.
Right. So I want to just quickly say good morning to Essie and Dion and Paulette and hey, Renata and Dion and Michelle. So as you come on in, if you have questions, thoughts, listen, this is interactive. So I'm going to ask questions. You ask questions. Tell us what is resonating with you and all that fun stuff. So tell us, what's the biggest lesson you learned in entrepreneurship alongside being a mommy?
Whew, Lord. Okay, that's a long list. How long we got? But you said one, so I'm a behave. So really, I would say the biggest lesson that I've learned is to build you first. And I know that might be like, well, how you do that if you don't even know when you're gonna have kids or if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, But I would say build you first because both of those, both areas, both mommyhood and being an entrepreneur, really require that you are tuned in to you first, that you have taken time to really understand your needs, yourself, and knowing that things are going to evolve through both of those journeys. Listen, mommyhood is a journey. Entrepreneurship is a journey. And I have, just come to realize and understand over time. I've always said, build the foundation of your business, but now I understand that the foundation is you. The foundation is you.
That's so good. And the thing that I love about you, Jon'elle, is everything you do, you up level. And what I mean by that is you might start here, but you're always looking at how can I grow to the next and how can I grow to the next, which I think eventful, anything is a perfect kind of definition of you. Because think
Yeah,
about what eventful means, right? A great event kind of builds over time. You walk in, it's one
that's
experience, you
right.
go through this, and so that really is how you be.
That's
So how did you, how do I say this? So being a mommypreneur, right? Love all the
hmm
background noise, right? Got computers making noise, y'all. Look,
I
so
know,
because
right?
she busy, right? So listen, people trying to get to her. So listen, being a mom is a lot of doing. Being an entrepreneur
Yeah,
is a lot of doing. So how
yeah.
did you really get clear on I got to have time to be?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll be honest. It's still a journey. It's an ongoing journey, right? It's not something. It's not a destination. You don't land at and be like, oh, I arrived. I'm there. But what I will say is, this past year and a half, through COVID, through the pandemic, like many of us, it started to make me really understand priorities, right? Where is it that I fit into my own priorities? Because
Mm,
I'll be honest, I wasn't fitting in. I wasn't in the picture.
right.
And that doesn't work. That doesn't work when you've built this picture of what you want things to look like, but yet you've forgotten the main character. You've forgotten the most important part of the picture, and that's you.
Mm,
To your point, I call, I renamed my business The Eventful Life because honestly, there is never a dull moment. But I do believe that life and business should be an experience. You are constantly evolving through every version of your life and your business. You're learning yourself. You're
hmm.
learning what is going to, who you are. Because I'll tell you,
Right.
and those of you who have kids, I'm sure you can testify that who you were before you had kids is not who you are now after you have had kids. And
Right.
if somebody can say that they are, then let's have a conversation.
Okay. And teach us all. Right.
Because it will
Right.
change, it changes you, and not in a bad way. It changes us for the better. It
Mhm.
really helps us understand who we even can be. Before I had my kids, I wasn't sure about some of the things that I know I'm capable of now, and the same for business. Entrepreneurship has shown me who the potential that I truly
Mm.
have, because it challenges me in ways that other things like, working in corporate America would not have challenged me in that way.
Yeah. What's interesting is what keeps coming up for me as you're sharing is it's a capacity thing. Y'all hear me out.
Yeah.
So when you work for somebody else and you're building somebody else's $1 billion brand, you walk in, you'd only do what's necessary. At least that was me. So maybe I'm telling on myself. I didn't do extra. I didn't stay late.
Right.
Only if I had to, not because I wanted to. Right. So when you then go out on your own, and you're building a business, it's a capacity issue, meaning you've got to look at your capacity different. And that's the same
Yeah.
thing with mommyhood,
Right.
right? Now,
That's
listen,
right.
the thing that I think is interesting, and as I'm a bonus mom, I've not had children of my own, and I came into my bonus children's lives at 15 and 13. So all of y'all that have teenagers, I need you to have a moment of silence for me because my bonus daughter was 13 and she's a daddy's girl through and through. So I'm
Oh,
sharing that with you because I realized at that moment in time I had to shift my own capacity. I can say, well, those
yeah.
are my kids. It's like, what kind of attitude is that to come into a relationship, right? I had to
Right.
shift my capacity to be who I needed to be for them and for me and not
Right.
leave myself behind. And I think that's where so many moms get this mommy guilt because
Hmm.
and so the last thing I want to share about that is I remember when I was working on my first book and my stepson, I asked my stepdaughter to read it. And my stepson said, well, can I read it too? Now, all of you that know me, you know most of my work. Now, men, I do work with men too. I always say a few good men, but 95% of my clients are women. So that's why I asked my stepdaughter to read it. And when my bonus son, I always like to say bonus instead of step because step just sounds so. Ugh. Anyway, so when my bonus son finished reading it, he said two things. One, how come you didn't write this for us? I learned some things, and he yelled at me. Number
Oh,
one. But number two, the thing that I think is interesting is when you let your kids see what you're doing, but it
That's right.
fosters in them, and it's like the guilt
That's right.
dissipates. So, and I know that's the same for you because I see her kids are so cute,
Yeah.
y'all, right?
Oh,
So
they're all
even
up in my mix. Like they don't that I
Mhm.
always say have boundaries, and we do have boundaries. But to Nicole's point, to your point, they've always been a part of what I do. I let them hear my conversations. It's funny. We were in the car the other day, and I was reading an article that CNN put out about just in this era of COVID and everybody being at home doing all the things all the time. They actually they surveyed some kids at different ages and just asked them, what do you think your parent does? What do you think they do since you've been at home and you've been able to hear their conversations while they're working? And so I asked my son, I said, well, what do you think mommy does? He said, this is my 7-year-old. He said, what you do, you plan conferences and for really important people. He was like, and then you tell some other people like how they should live and stuff like that so that they don't get confused. He said, and then you make sure that moms know how to take care of their kids. I said, oh okay, son. I said, well, you just summed that up.
right.
Really, really well. But he understood that, this is my work, right? This is what I do. This is not, oh, mama's just sitting at home, hanging out. And it really is important because it cultivates something in them that they then, he wants to open his own business, and they have options. So I think it's
That's
really
so
important
good.
to let them
That's
see
so
what
good.
you're doing.
And I have another question, but before I ask that, listen, you just made me think about something. Every man I dated prior to my husband didn't understand what I did for a living. So, just like my husband brought bonus children with me, my bonus child was my business. I'm clear. My business is my
Yeah.
ministry. Okay. So I'm
Right.
sharing that with you because oftentimes on weekends I'm speaking somewhere, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of weekends I'm flying, not recently, but but a lot of weekends I'm flying to some conference to speak. Because a lot of conferences are Friday, Saturday, sometimes
Mhm.
Sunday. So every single man before my husband, I would fight. And when I married Daryl, I put it on the table. I said, let me explain to you because I'm not going to argue with you a year down the line. Let me tell you what I do for a living, right? So I'm sharing that with you because he got it. Let me tell you why he got it. Because his mother, I called her my mom, my mother-in-law mentor because
Mhm.
she did the exact same thing. And so what
Mm.
you're fostering in your children, and when I met her and started hearing all the things, that she was on the board of the YWCA National. So she'd be flying to Switzerland. I'm flying to,
Yes.
to Florida, and she's flying to Switzerland. Big difference,
Yeah.
right? So I'm
That's right.
sharing that because you have no idea what you're fostering in your children's future as they're looking at you have an eventful life. Come on,
Yeah.
Nicole, right? Come on, use her word, right?
That's
So talk
right.
to us about what is strategic living, because in order to live an eventful life, you got to have some strategy, right?
That's right. That's right. And I think, when I kind of coined the phrase strategic living, I'm talking about both reimagining how you can intermingle your business and your life, right? So I think for the most part, I think it's safe to say that people know and understand, especially my entrepreneurs, you understand that you have to have strategy in your business. Like you understand you have to have processes. You understand that that you have to have content. Nicole will make sure that you understand these things too with her Bankroll Your Brilliance, or else you're gonna be in trouble. So, but you
Okay, it's
understand
gonna be
that
broken. But anyway, go ahead.
right. But you understand that on the business side, where I
Yeah,
find that we leave, kind of this open area is in life. We don't think that
yeah,
we need to have strategy in life. And that's absolutely not the case. Like, I think back to how I have been able to navigate having my kids and making sure. Now granted, my husband, he very similar to, as you were speaking about Daryl, we have had an understanding over time about the things that I need in order to get what I need to get done for business, just like he has times when he's doing stuff, for work that he needs to get done. But as it relates to my kids, there's strategy involved in that. During COVID, if I was on a business meeting, or doing a live like this, you better believe my kids understood, okay, we don't go in there and talk to mommy while the door is closed, while she is in there, then we are doing our work. And if we have a question, you know what I used to tell them? If you have a question, write it down. Okay. Now my 4-year-old be like, well, mommy, I don't know how to spell all the things that I need to ask you. That's okay, baby. Write it down the best way you know how, because that's what we do. We use what we have. We don't think about what we don't have. We use what we
Right.
have. And
I
so,
love it. I
but
love it.
there's strategy in that, you know.
Mhm.
Who's gonna do dinner? Well, guess what? I have to think about those things on Sunday. I plan the
Mhm.
week out so that there's
Yes.
strategy in making sure we all know the roles that we play. Because just like I have team members in business, and I have a team, you know, for my business and in entrepreneurship, I have a team in life, and that is my home.
Mm. That's
So
so good. That's so good. That's so good. And as you're thinking that, I often, in my first book, not trying to talk about my book, but what's interesting, I wrote this whole chapter on who's on my team. And what's interesting is we go through life, and I love that you said I have a team for my business, but I also need a team for home. And by the way, y'all, if you have questions, please post them, right? If you,
yes.
you find yourself stuck in mommyhood or entrepreneurship, or you want to figure out how to have an event, all of that, ask the question, because this is the event guru right here, right? So the thing that I think is interesting, what's so funny? Something else popped in my head. Come on, Laura, stop it. So, let me brag on
Listen.
Jon'll real quick, because I love how she pivots. So let me go back to 2 years this time, when I had an event, not even 2 years, it was January of 2020. And we
Mm-hmm.
were all cool. So, me and Jon'll were rocking and rolling, getting ready for my event that I was going to do in
Wow.
October.
That's
And
right.
then COVID shut it all down in March. And I remember we were like, what are we going to do? I said, well, now my background's TV and film. So I said, I've got to find a production studio. I know Jon'll was like, what? So I'm sharing that with you because we created something that was so unique and so different, because number one, we both are willing to think out of the box. And what I did know is Jon'll went and took a class, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I want to commend you, because not only are you strategic, but you don't let comfort keep you at status quo.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
And
you. Thank you for
and
that.
being a mom, you can get comfortable, right? The other thing I was
Yes.
thinking is even I have a client who, when you talk about strategy, who I love that she cooks on Sunday night with her kids, so they help cook dinner for the week,
That's
right?
right. That's
And
right.
then she has a nanny, and she felt guilty for getting a nanny. But let me explain: she's single. She didn't. That is her team,
Yeah.
right? And I said, listen, if you're going to do what you really want to do, you've got enough money you can afford to hire somebody. And by the way, the nanny is the neighbor that's 13 or 14 or something like that. And all that little girl does is come over, help them with their homework, warm up the dinner with the kids. So the kids are warming
Yeah.
up the dinner they cook with their mommy. So it's still
Yeah.
special. And then
Yeah.
she finishes her work, enough time to give them a bath, read them a story, and then she can go back in her office if she chooses to. But
Yeah.
then she's not catching a call and going back and forth and not paying attention and not being fully over here and being fully over there. And the thing I love about you, Jon'll, is you're fully and complete. When you're over here fully and completely. I
Yeah.
don't ever see our kids, like when we're in an event together, they might call, but I don't hear a phone call, right? She
Yep.
is
That's
fully
right.
and completely with me. Look, and when the event's over, she's like, well, I told them I'll be home by this time if I'm trying to go have a drink. I'm like, look, she's like, I can go. I got a 30-minute window, but it's
Right.
clear. Everything
It
is
might be
clearly
one, but
defined.
I'm gonna go.
But it's clearly defined. And you make it work. And the thing that I watch you, and our kids are little. So when you have a 15, 16-year-old, it's easy. When you got a 4-year-old, it's a whole different ball game.
Yes.
And so I
And like I
see
said,
your strategy
and
come
they've
to play.
experienced this since, since birth. So, and here's I wanna dispel the myth about, oh, it's harder when when you first have them and when they're a baby, it's hard. Yes, it is, but I'll be honest, because I'm only sharing this because y'all, I wish somebody had told me. But but when they get older, in this stage right now, when they're like, moving, they got arms, legs, they can move, okay? Because when they babies, they can't move.
Right.
Number one, they're not
They
gonna
can't
miss
burst that. They can't tell you their opinion or nothing. Right.
you. They're not gonna miss you because they don't even know. I mean, they know you there, but they don't. Okay.
Right.
But at 4 and 7, when they get to a point where they are mobile and they are communicating and they become little people, that's honestly when the rubber hits the road. Because
Yeah.
now you have not just your schedule, you have their schedule as well.
Ooh.
That you have to accommodate. You have, if you do have a spouse, then you have their schedule. So going back to that strategic living,
Yeah.
goes beyond just, oh, well, once I get to this age, I'm free. No, no, no. At every single stage that they are in, you are going to find yourself needing to pivot and adjust because you're not going to be able to do business the same way you did when they were 1, as opposed to when they're 4 and 7. So get
Mm-hmm.
in that mindset now of,
Yeah.
let me go ahead and put my plan in place, make sure that I'm strategic about the things that I do so that when it's time to shift, then all you're doing is shifting, what the way you do it, but not
Right.
having to figure out how to do it because you already
Right.
have the template in place.
I love it. I love it. And the thing that you are so right, because as they get older, they got soccer and basketball and whatever
Yeah.
they're gonna play.
I'm preparing
And
myself to become a professional Uber driver because that's what it's about to be.
right, right. And I remember when I was in high school, my mother used to drive us around everywhere. And let me tell you what she told me later. She told me the reason she should drive us everywhere is because then she would know where I was. Then she could supervise what I was doing, right? Which at that time, my mom took a part-time job. So she started working from 9 to 5, or it was like 8 to 4. She started working from 7 to 3. So she could pick me up. She would always be our designated driver. I used to hate it. But now I realize, because, I'd be wanting to do extra stuff, but I realize now that that was such a sacrifice on her part, but it
Yeah,
didn't stop her from working. It didn't
that's
stop her
right.
and so you've got to really be strategic. I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
go ahead. I was just gonna add something to what you just said about, it
Mhm.
didn't stop her because I get a lot of entrepreneurs who, women, of course, who either they're just starting to grow their family or they're thinking about growing their family,
Right.
and the stop mentality comes into play because they're like, well, if I'm
Mm,
gonna do that, I need to stop this. Don't do that. You do
yeah.
not have to stop. You need to keep going, to be honest, because I don't care if it's a baby step. A baby step is still a step. And just like you have to regain your momentum, just like a little kid is a baby
Mhm.
learns how to walk, learns how to crawl, then walk. You might have to learn how to crawl and walk again,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
you come out of that initial stages of motherhood. But don't ever stop. Decrease what you're handling, your bandwidth might decrease, decrease your capacity, adjust yourself, but don't stop.
That's so good. That's so good. Now, I want to shift a teeny bit because I want to make sure we don't leave out your brilliance. And we talked a lot about living. Let's talk
Yeah.
a little bit about your business and really the kind of experiences you create for your clients. So, the thing that, and let me just be clear, she's not an event planner. I call her an event producer
That's
because
right.
it's eventful. It's an experience what
That's
she
right.
creates. So tell us a little bit about what makes you different, and for those of you that are thinking about having an event, or you have a company and she's not a wedding planner, so don't call her about your wedding. But if you if you're looking to have some kind of event, what are some of the things they need to know so their event also is strategic and is eventful, dare I say.
Yes, no, I love. So first off, Nicole, let me just say I love that you shared what I am not. Okay, because because that's so good. That's so good. But
Look,
she's right.
I haven't even asked her that, but I've known her long enough and watched her. Yeah,
That's right. Okay, because
right.
if you call me about a wedding, I might throw a shoe. No,
Okay.
but just like I said, my business has evolved over time, and we used to do weddings when I first started in business.
Right.
But I understood, and again, it's so funny about business. You really have to get to a place again where you understand who you are, and that can change, right? That's going to evolve. So as you evolve, your business should be evolving. And so
Right.
what I found is that I was better served in experiences that are very specific to my client, that are very specific to the message, the platform that they're trying to share. I
Yeah.
call them curated experiences, which I feel like
I
you
love
can
that.
do digitally or you can do in person. You
Yeah.
can curate an experience for people when you know why you are doing it. But that's
Mm,
the whole purpose is I have to know, I have to understand from my clients, why do you want to host this experience? Why do you want to have this experience? What is unique and different about this experience that is going to captivate, that's going to pull in your
mhm.
audience that you are trying to speak to, that you are messaging
Right.
to?
Right.
And those are the things that really make the experience. It's
Mm,
not I need to follow this templated, like, yes, that's my job. I'm going to make sure all those logistical things are in place, but it's really about understanding who you're talking to,
Mm-hmm.
why you want to talk to them, what is the purpose, the purpose of this, and then tying it back into what I call engagement, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the five senses are how I always talk to my clients about, what do you want them to hear, right? What do you want them to see? What do you want them to smell? What do you want them to taste? What do you want them to touch? And a lot of times my clients look at me like, are we still talking about an event? Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm. Because I
Because
was it creates an experience.
right,
Right.
it is an experience,
Mm-hmm.
and that is what people remember when they walk away. You have engulfed them in this entire experience
Right.
where it's like they've drank. You hear the expression "drink the Kool-Aid." They've drunk the Kool-Aid because you immerse them in all these different senses that they're like, this was like something I've never been a part of before.
Right.
So that's what makes, I would say, my approach different, is
Yeah.
I'm really looking to make sure that my clients understand how we can curate this experience. And when you curate an experience, it's automatically not going to be like anything else
Yes.
anyone else is doing, right? So
Yes.
you don't even
That's
have
so
to worry
good.
about that. They're like, well, how do I know it's going to be different from, XYZ down the street? Because we're curating it. When we're
Yeah.
curating it, it puts its own specific, DNA on your experience.
That's so good. And so, literally, I want you guys to get this. So, listen, those of you, if you have a business, even if you work in corporate and you're watching this and you want to do more than just have a regular event, you want to have an experience, you want people to walk away. Listen, one of my favorite quotes is people forget what you said, they forget what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. That's
That's
Dr.
right.
Maya Angelou, by the way. And that's who Jon'elle is. She's a make them feel kind of girl, right? So if that's you, she's offering free 30-minute event and marketing strategy consultations. Now, listen, don't send her an email because, listen, anything she recommends, there's going to be an investment if you're going to move forward. The thing I love about her, she's not a salesperson. She's my girl. She's a service person. So if it's a good fit, she's going to make an invitation for her to serve you. Or if
Yeah.
she's not, she'll say, well, that sounds like so and so, right? So just know that whatever she's going to recommend will require an investment. So only call if you're willing to do the investment. Don't waste her time. Don't waste her brilliance.
And
So
Nicole,
anything you want to say about the 30 minute?
yeah, let me just add that it's I just want to make sure they have it right. It's Jon'll Boyd at the eventfullife.co.
Okay, let me
So
fix it. Oops, let me fix it. Let me fix
it's
it.
okay. It's a
Look,
girl.
me and
It's
my
okay.
boots
Listen.
is for life.
Look,
I'll
we
never
know
be
how to,
perfect. I will always drop an excellence. Let me
I
fix
was just about to say, we know excellence is in the building, so we're not worried about that at all. Okay.
So you
But,
see it you see it the right way now on the screen. Jon'elle
there you
Boyd
go.
at
Yes.
theeventfullife.co.
That's right. But yes, I, like Nicole just said, I want to, in that 30 minutes, I want to understand, do some brainstorming, do some strategizing of what it is that you're looking to do, what it is that you're looking to host, help you understand, like I said, those five senses, so that you can walk away knowing, okay, I got something here that I think
Mm-hmm.
would be beautiful to put out into the universe. Or, okay, I need to go back to the drawing board and do my homework, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because just to do don't do an event just to do an event.
yeah.
I would say, if you want to know my one piece of advice, please don't do an event just to do an event, because
Mhm.
it's a lot of work, y'all. It's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
work.
yeah.
So if you're gonna put that time and effort and energy into something, let it be, purposeful. Let it be meaningful, and let it be experiential.
Ooh, that's so good. And on that note, dropping the mic, thank you for all you are. Thank you for coming in and sharing your insight tips to live an eventful life. And I
Yes,
appreciate you, girl.
absolutely. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for having me. This was wonderful. Great midday break.
So with that, y'all, that was today's episode of Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursdays. Couple of things I want to tell you. Number one, if there's a topic that you'd like for me to cover, or bring a guest on around that topic, please send an email to byb@blackdoctor.org. Tell us a topic you want to hear. Cass said, that's awesome. Janelle can hear me. She's on backstage now. So Cass said, that's awesome, Janelle. So if you have a topic you want me to cover, please send an email. Tell us what you are interested in. Again, around what's your purpose, around the value tied to it, or how to create multiple streams of income from it, or anything in between those three. I'm happy to serve you. Additionally, outside of our conversations here, listen, follow me on Instagram because you'll get ongoing tools and insight and strategy to bankroll your brilliance. So I'll be here next Thursday for another episode. Thank you for tuning in. Do me one favor. Well, two favors. One, share the value you got out of today's conversation. Write it in. I'll come back and watch. I read every single comment. Number two, if you got value, share it. Share it so we can get other people on with us, because here's the thing. God created us with something so special, so sweet, that you are the answer to somebody's problem. My mission in this thing called life is, as you become the answer, as you be the answer, that you also understand that that brings abundance back to you. That's called bankrolling your brilliance. So until next Thursday, have a good rest of your week. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.